Chaos? What the hell am I looking at?
Well, this, my friend, is the first ever beat 'em up. Now, why is this important, you might ask? Alright, imagine this, a world where we didn't have Castle Crashers, River City Girls, or hell, even One Finger Death Punch. Yeah, this game was pretty important, and without it, we wouldn't have the amazing lineup of games we know today as beat 'em ups. And every time I end up talking about them to someone, Streets of Rage always manages to make its way into the discussion. And it makes sense. The Streets of Rage series has always held a special place in my heart. Even though I was only able to play the second installment as a kid, it was still fun beating up fatties, thugs, and ninjas with my brothers, and it really sealed my love for beat 'em ups and also strong women. But anyway, there is a reason why Streets of Rage is still such a beloved franchise, and in this video you're gonna find out that even after a year of writing, I still don't know how to do good segues. So, Streets of Rage 1. Since I don't own my old copies of the games anymore, all my footage is going to be on the Sega Genesis Mega Drive. So, in the first game, you get to play as three main characters, Axel, Blaze, or Adam. Blaze is the weakest, but also the fastest, Axel being the all-around character, and Adam being the strongest but the slowest. And the story is, these three ex-police officers go on a journey and beat up a crime lord. Okay, come on, let's be real here. It's 1991, kids back then wouldn't play beat 'em ups for their gripping story. But even though the story is pretty much non-existent, one thing you notice right when you launch the game is its presentation. Instantly the game hits you with its very colorful city, and this sick slow beat accompanying it. I really enjoyed how vibrant everything was in the first game. It really made most of the levels stand out from themselves. I also really enjoyed the setting of each level you're placed in. You go from town, to beach, to boat, then some battle lab, then next thing you know you're on an elevator. It really gave you that sense of progression as you would ride the elevator, and the game reminds you how far you have come by showing you the city that you fought through from a distance. Plus the game's style giving it that feel of punk and funk. And we can thank Noriyoshi Oba for the game's stunning visuals. And on the topic of funk, Streets of Rage soundtrack is actually pretty good for 1991, and considering the hardware limitations, Streets of Rage surprisingly has some pretty good bangers, my favorite being Violent Breathing in Stage 7. Gameplay wise, I can't say much as to what fighting games were back then, so I'm going to be drawing comparisons to another popular fighting game, Final Fight. The first thing I will say about Streets of Rage is that this game has a lot more going on in terms of combat. You have your basic combo mashing, but you can also grab and throw enemies, flip them over to do a special throw, and call in a special where you summon a cop car that shoots out rockets and everyone on screen dies. It also doesn't end there, you also have some defensive moves as well. If you end up getting grabbed, you can attack the enemy in front of you so not to take extra damage, and if you end up getting thrown yourself, you can catch your fall by pressing the jump button. But I feel like this is a bit hard to land because throughout my entire playthrough, I only managed to do it once.
I did it! Oh shit! I just realized I did it, oh my god.
This game will also throw a lot of enemies at you, and I mean a lot, and I ended up paying because of it. But that's good because it not only keeps the player on their toes, but also engaged. But sometimes the enemies they throw at you can be a little BS.
Okay, what the?
Unfortunately, there's only like 5 different types of enemies you'll fight throughout the entire game. So sometimes it will feel like the level will last forever because you've been beating up Garcia about 100 times. But like I said before, I'm not gonna rag too hard on this game for nitpicky stuff. It was 1991, so I'll cut him some slack. Now the bosses in this game are a mixed bag for me. The first boss was fine, you throw some punches at him, then he dies. Then the second boss was a bit unclear. You knock him down, great. Then he speeds across the screen and with no time to react, he deletes your health. Then after a lot of trial and error, I found out the best way to beat him was to do air attacks over and over again until he died. And yes, I did use the rewind button because I wasn't gonna let some 200-pound bozo rob me my victory. And the victory was low-key lame. Not because I cheated, because using the same move over and over again to beat a boss not only felt cheesy, it was boring, at least for me. And that also ended up being the case with 2 other bosses as well. Another problem I had with the game is that, man, does it have some jank ass hitboxes. There were times where I was absolutely baffled at the times where it looked like I should not have taken any damage at all.
I'm actually appalled on like the hitboxes in this game.
Like, tell me if I'm wrong, man, but does that look like that hit me? Yeah, I don't think so. So yeah, you could imagine I was a bit frustrated.
Whoa! What? Yo, Mac, replay that. Oh my god. What is it? What's the hitbox on that?
But hey, whatever. That's my only problem with the game. But overall, Streets of Rage 1 was pretty solid. And man, you really gotta love that 1980s sound compression. Absolutely beautiful. Now, Streets of Rage 2, Now, Streets of Rage 2 on the other hand cranked everything up to 11. Almost every problem that I had with the first game has now been beaten out of existence. Get it? Because beaten and beat 'em ups, you know, come on. The combat, the music, the enemies, the levels, it's all just a massive improvement of the first game. We now have Adam's younger brother, Skate, who is extra fast and flashy but does the least damage, and Max, who basically just replaces Adam's role but now has more tools to compensate for his speed, or lack thereof. The combat now has been heavily improved from the first installment. Each character can now do blitz moves, which can be performed by double tapping the direction button then attacking. And now they can use specials, which basically is a character-specific move that does a lot of damage, but at the cost of health. So high risk, high reward. But Skate, man, Skate just takes the risk and just throws it out of the window. He is one of my all-time favorite characters, but holy shit, was his side special broken. If you were able to land it right, which was pretty easy mind you, you could obliterate a boss in 2 moves. Yeah, it was that kind of busted. But I guess if you end up missing the move, all you really end up doing is killing yourself faster, so I guess it's balanced with big air quotes. But anyway, I really enjoyed the specials because it made the characters feel unique, while eliminating the feeling of combat becoming monotonous throughout the game. Now, one thing I was not expecting to be the best part about this game was its absolutely stellar soundtrack. And it really feels like they went all out on this game because there is not a single bad track, and I'm taking those words to my grave. But jokes aside, the music is the best I've ever heard from this trilogy, and it really helped to build that sense of atmosphere as the music complements the levels immensely. And we can thank Yuzo Koshiro for bringing us this amazing soundtrack, and Dreamer, the best song in Streets of Rage history. Some other new improvements is that they fixed the problem with enemy variety. There are actually a good chunk of new enemies now that give a decent challenge to each character, and the enemy density really gives you a run for your money. Visually, the levels are still as stunning as ever, and it never felt like the levels dragged on. This could be due to the music and the improved combat keeping me engaged throughout the entire playthrough. Unfortunately, they removed the clear screen attack, but it wasn't that much of a big deal now that we had more combat options to compensate for it. But honestly, you need to experience the second game for yourself. There is a reason why people find the second installment the best one. There is barely any flaws, and it's a massive, and I mean massive, improvement over the first one. Ooh, alright, Streets of Rage 3. Oh boy. You know what? I'm gonna just say it. This game fucking sucks. Okay, don't get me wrong. The game is technically an improvement, but that technically is like putting duct tape on a broken house. First, let's start with that introduction, and dear god.
Well, what? Okay, what a fucking lame ass intro. Okay.
That's it. That's all you get. Just pure silence. Nothing. The game already feels empty and lacks that style the previous installments had. And just when I thought it couldn't get any worse, holy shit. Do you hear this? It sounds like the death of 1,000 Atari systems. I'm selecting a character, not fighting Lucifer. Koshiro, my boy. What were you thinking when you made this? Murder? And after doing some research, i.e. Wikipedia, I found this quote from Koshiro himself. He describes the new music as fast-paced techno jungle. Of course, techno jungle. How could I be so deaf? This isn't techno jungle. This is murder music, and he made it using his automated composing system, which used heavily randomized sequences. First off, Koshiro, chuck that shit in the trash right now, because I am pretty sure you have permanently vaporized the eardrums of 100 poor children. And this is just a perfect example of how the rest of the music sounds. And don't even get me started on the levels in this game. Gone are the vibrant colors that made things stand out, the impressive backdrops that showed your progress as you fought through enemies. Now we have these dark and drab colors, and these moody trash bins. Like, what is this? Everything now is just so dull, unless you want to count the seizure level as vibrant.
Oh wow, my eyes.
My eyes!
And I know I keep saying this, but the music is just pitiful, man.
Dude, what is this music? Actual bleeps and bloops.
It's gaming, dude. That's what it is.
Like, what? Yeah, Brian, turn this shit up, bro. Yeah.
It reminds me of the fucking bitch from Rhythm Heaven that's like, wubba lubba dub, is that true?
Bro, this isn't music, it's robot language. Okay, I'm exaggerating. Not all the songs are bad. There are some pretty decent ones in the mix, but maybe this entire soundtrack just is not for me. Because after looking through the comment sections of the OST, I almost thought these were words of people who are being held at gunpoint. Hey, but I guess different chords for different hordes, you know? Now, maybe this is just me, but holy shit, were some of these bosses and enemies so annoying to fight through.
He literally turns around and hits me mid-fucking combo, dude.
The difficulty is so bunk. Mind you, this is only the second boss, and they are just rolling me. Skate, the fastest character in the game, and I still can't hit these hoes. And now for some reason the Electras take forever to get back on their feet, and it drags the fight on so much. And this is the only game, mind you, where I actually experienced frame drops in my gameplay.
I can't tell if the game's frames are dying or is it my computer.
It's definitely the game. There's no way your computer's that shitty. Can't run a fucking Sega Genesis game.
How is that even possible? A game from the 90s runs like ass. Okay, now that we got the bad stuff out of the way, the only real improvement on Streets of Rage 3 has to be the combat. The game feels a bit faster compared to the previous games. The maneuverability in this game has been bumped up significantly. Every character can now run, dodge, do back attacks, and if you're playing co-op, you can actually have a friend throw you and do a finishing move, which I personally enjoy. Just make sure there's no ledges around.
Oh, wow.
That's karma.
You can play as a kangaroo, and that's all the good things I have to say about this game. I guess having a story be more in your face now is a good addition, but man, did it really feel like they took a couple steps back. And then for 10 whole years, nothing. Wait, what's that noise? Oh my god, is that what I think it is? Oh, it's absolutely amazing! Streets of Rage 4 is just a straight up masterpiece of a game. They managed to get every single thing right with this last entry, to the music, to the characters, the bosses, the atmosphere, and thanks to the new direction, the art style, this modern take on Streets of Rage 4 has never looked better. I know I have talked about atmosphere a lot in this video, but come on, you cannot look at me and say this does not immerse you just a little bit. And that absolutely stellar soundtrack, you know what, I take back what I said about you, Koshiro. This is some baller stuff. The story this time takes the front seat. In this game, the new baddies are the Y twins, basically Mr. X's children, and their main goal is to make everything bad. Yeah, even after 26 years, the story hasn't really improved. And it kind of shows because everything is so cliche and cheesy, but it's honestly charming how the game just exaggerates everything. And I love the amazing comic book styled cutscenes between each level. The art is just mwah. We now have two new characters, Cherry Hunter, Adam's daughter, and Floyd. And as you would expect, I obviously chose Cherry because she is fast-paced, her combo potential is insane, and those absolutely voluptuous thighs. God damn. I need to examine this, respectfully that is.
Chaos, knock it off. There will be no horny in this video. I refuse. Chaos? Oh, God. I can fix this. I don't want to, but I'm gonna.
While Floyd basically being Max, but has a more grappler focus. Blaze and Axel feel more refined, but I feel like after 10 years they could have had their movesets updated just a little bit. Adam also makes his return in like 26 years, and he feels just as good as Cherry, being able to zip across the stage with ease while performing some stylish ass combos. In terms of combat, it's pretty much more of the same, but better. Blitz moves still remain in the game, as well as specials. Now when you lose health, you have the chance to regain it by attacking enemies. But if you end up taking damage yourself, you can kiss that health goodbye. And I like this because it encourages more risky usage of your specials, so that skillful players can be rewarded for playing smart. You also gain ultimate moves now. Axel has a flaming tornado, Blaze gets some Zen moment shit, Cherry gets a guitar slide, and Floyd gets a giant fucking laser. And they always feel so satisfying to use. My only problem with the bosses is that they kind of follow the same trend that previous games did, where it was the same boss but now he has a friend, or it was the same boss but now there's two of them. But to be fair, one of the boss fights was for story reasons, so I guess I'll give it a pass. As you are playing through the game, you notice you'll gain some lifetime score. This is basically used to get some new characters. The unlockable characters are basically just all the old characters from the previous games, with some slight tweaks to bring them more in line with the modern era. There are also some new modes like Boss Rush, which is, as the name implies, you fight bosses. It's pretty nice, but after a while it tends to get pretty boring. And if you're a boomer, you can play the game in arcade mode, which is basically how you would play Streets of Rage back then. One life, and if you die, it's back to the beginning. Really nice for those that want to go old school. Streets of Rage as a whole doesn't really innovate that much. It spends more time improving on what made it great than expanding on its gameplay, which honestly isn't a bad thing in the slightest. It's just that I can understand why someone wouldn't want to punch the same enemy in 4 different games. Alright, Streets of Rage also has some new DLC, Mr. X's Nightmare. It's basically like a survival mode with some roguelike features placed in to give it some replay value. The DLC also gives you access to Shiva, Max, Rue, and Estelle, and on top of that they gave each and every character alternate moves, so it gives you more of an incentive to play while also giving you new ways to play. And as a free update, they also added Mania Plus, which is pretty nuts. But if you ended up beating Mania mode, this one's pretty easy.
What did I hear?
What the hell?
Easy.
Hello?
What the fuck did you say?
Wait,
I'll show you easy. Come here, you little shit.
Well, overall, the Streets of Rage series is honestly a timeless masterpiece. And somehow I can play these games and feel like they never age. And I hope my pain and this video was enough to tell you why you should play Streets of Rage.